We are introduced to a sharply dressed courier named Ben who is cruising down the famous 101 freeway in Los Angeles, riding alongside his cousin Ollie, who happens to be his brand new partner on the job. The two pull up at a high-end jewelry store owned by a man named Sammy, where Ben warmly introduces Ollie to him. But the moment Sammy lays eyes on Ollie, his face tightens with suspicion. He doesn't trust the new guy, not even a little. Ben quickly reassures him that Ollie is family, and family can be trusted. But while this introduction is happening inside the store, something far more sinister is unfolding across town. A calm, calculated man named Mike Davis steps out of his apartment, slides into his vehicle, and begins quietly tailing another courier named Masood. This Mike isn't just any criminal. He's the mastermind behind a string of high-profile jewelry heists that have rattled the city for months. Without warning, he pulls his mask down over his face, stops Masood in his tracks, and asks him a single chilling question, whether he's carrying a weapon. When Masood says no, Mike orders him into the trunk of the car, then casually grabs Masood's phone and removes a tiny GPS tracker that he had secretly planted on the man's car months earlier. This guy doesn't just rob people. He studies them like prey. Now, back at the jewelry store, Sammy reveals the diamonds and asks Ben to step into his private office, leaving Ollie outside to keep watch. And this is where things get interesting. Sammy tells Ben that today's job is going to be different from anything he has ever done before. Instead of one shipment, there will be two, with a combined value of $3 million. Ben is confused. He asks about the diamonds Sammy already placed inside the suitcase. Sammy quietly reveals that those are decoys, fake stones meant to trick anyone who tries to rob them. Then, very carefully, he straps the real diamonds around Ben's ankle and warns him not to breathe a word of this to Ollie. But what neither of them realizes is that Mike is already parked just outside the store, pretending to be Masood by sending Sammy a message from the kidnapped courier's phone. Sammy, completely fooled, tells Ben and Ollie that the car parked across the street will be following them all the way to their delivery location for protection. He even hands Ollie a better gun before they head out. So the two cousins drive off, completely unaware that the real threat isn't trailing behind them. It's sitting silently on the road waiting to strike. About an hour into their journey, the unthinkable happens. Mike pulls up right next to their car, raises his weapon, and casually informs Ben that his partner is already parked outside Ben's house. The threat is loud and clear. He demands their guns and phones, then orders Ben to step out. Ben, panicking, tells him to just take the suitcase and leave. But Mike smiles coldly and says he's not interested in fakes. He wants the real diamonds, because no one risks dying for an insurance company. Defeated, Ben hands over the diamonds strapped to his ankle. Mike then frees Masood from the trunk, returns the phones, and turns to leave. But just as he's walking away, Ollie suddenly raises his shaking hands and tries to fire. The bullet misses completely. Mike speeds off, breathing heavily, his heart pounding from how close that was. He drives to a hidden garage, parks the heist car, removes his contact lenses with shaking fingers, covers the vehicle, and disappears like a ghost. Now, on the other side of town, we meet a polished and confident insurance broker named Sharon, who works for a company called L&V. She's at the home of a billionaire named Monroe, evaluating his expensive art and assets. Monroe shows her his hidden panic safe with a gun inside it, but Sharon politely tells him that owning a weapon won't reduce his premium. Monroe, being the eccentric billionaire that he is, challenges her to a little game. If she can hit a bottle outside with his Glock, he'll sign the policy on the spot. Sharon nervously takes a shot, but misses badly. She then walks him through the policy details, including coverage for cyber privacy, mentioning a past admission scandal where none of their clients were ever named. She also brings up coverage for his daughter's college possessions, but Monroe quickly corrects her. The young woman in the house isn't his daughter. She's his fiancée, Adrian. The awkwardness in that moment is almost painful. Meanwhile, back near the 101 freeway, an LAPD detective named Lou arrives at the crime scene of Ben and Ollie's robbery. His partner Tillman immediately starts mocking his old car, telling him it makes him look broke and not in a charming way. Tillman explains the situation, $3 million worth of diamonds gone. When Tillman asks Ben how the robber knew the suitcase contained fakes, Ben angrily snaps, saying the robber even knew his home address. Lou's ears perk up at this. The detective immediately recognizes the pattern. This is the same robber who has been pulling off identical jobs along the 101 freeway for years. He never uses violence, always cuts the camera lines beforehand, knows exactly what is being moved and when, leaves zero DNA, and always strikes along that same stretch of highway. But Tillman dismisses Lou's theory and instead drops a bombshell on him. Their lieutenant has been pressuring Tillman to switch partners, warning that staying with Lou might destroy his career. Tillman tells Lou that his obsession with this lone wolf criminal isn't winning them any allies, but Lou is convinced. He knows it's the same man. Now, at his apartment, Mike finally takes a moment to breathe. He carefully transfers the stolen diamonds into a cup, but as he runs his fingers through his hair, he freezes. There's blood on his hand. He frantically checks his mask and confirms his worst fear. He left blood behind. A tiny mistake, but in his world, tiny mistakes can become deadly. Sharon, meanwhile, returns to her office, where her junior partner, Phil, greets her. She asks about her long-awaited promotion to partner, a position she has been chasing for years. Phil gives her another vague answer, the same one he has been giving for ages. Her boss Mark just got back from his trip, so he'll talk to him soon. But Sharon has heard all of this before. Later that evening, Mike meets up with his fence, a man called Money, who handles the sale of all his stolen jewelry. Mike confesses that today's job almost ended in disaster and asks if Money believes in omens. He admits he has a bad feeling about the upcoming Santa Barbara heist because it would have to happen in broad daylight and someone could get seriously hurt. Money tells him to relax, blow off some steam, and even suggests he get laid. Following the advice, Mike calls his usual escort Sarah, but a different woman shows up instead. He immediately becomes uncomfortable and the moment fizzles out. The next morning at Sharon's company, Mark introduces a fresh face named Madeline, who will now be helping Sharon with high-net-worth residential cases. He praises Sharon for her work on the Monroe estate and even hints that the billionaire's expensive wedding could become their next big insurance deal. But when Sharon admits the deal isn't fully closed yet, Mark immediately reassigns the case to Madeline. Then Phil mentions something that catches everyone's attention. Sammy the jeweler is filing a massive 7-figure claim, but the timing is just too convenient. $3 million in diamonds, robbed on the one specific day he was transporting them. Mark instructs Sharon to use her charm to push a polygraph test on Sammy and Ben. At the police station, Sammy fiercely denies any involvement. He already owns multiple stores and is a wealthy man. Why would he steal from himself? Lou asks if he called Ben to confirm the delivery time. Sammy says he only sent an email. And just like that, Lou and Tillman realize the robber has been hacking emails to plan every single hit. Meanwhile, Mike meets with his hacker named Devin at a restaurant, instructing him to dig into Sharon's social media, calendar, and emails, just like before. That same afternoon, Money meets with the son of his old accomplice, a young man named Orman. He tells him about the Santa Barbara job, explaining that Mike planned the entire thing but backed out because he didn't want anyone to get hurt. Orman scoffs, quoting his father's old saying about needing to break a few eggs. But Money warns him that his father did things even Orman couldn't stomach. If Orman wants to prove himself, he can take the job. Now here's where things take an unexpected turn. That night, Mike stops at a red light, and, out of nowhere, a car slams into the back of his vehicle. The driver, a charming young woman named Maya, steps out and exchanges insurance information with him. There's an instant spark, but Mike plays it cool. She gives him her number, just in case. When he notices a baby seat in the back, he asks if she has kids. She laughs and says no, the car belongs to her boss. The next day, Sharon meets Lou and casually requests the polygraph test. Lou immediately calls her out, accusing her insurance company of screwing people over. But Sharon fires back, claiming they actually offer people what they want most after wealth, and that's the security of wealth. She drops a piece of insight that sparks something in Lou's mind. She tells him that every series of human actions creates a pattern. This single line lights a fire in Lou. Back at the station, he applies this exact theory. He filters out every robbery under $500,000, removes the ones that didn't involve couriers or armor vehicles, eliminates the ones with violence, and then crosses off any that left DNA behind. What's left is undeniable. The robber strikes only along the 101 freeway, and since the last hit was on the south side, the next one is bound to happen up north. But when Lou shares this with Captain Stewart, the captain shuts him down completely. 2 of the past 101 robberies already have suspects arrested, and the captain doesn't care if those suspects are innocent. The clearance rate went up, and that's all that matters. Meanwhile, in Santa Barbara, Orman makes his violent debut. He grabs a delivery man transporting gemstones and forces his way into the jewelry store. When an employee lies about no one being in the back, Orman finds a baby and slaps the woman for lying. He grabs the gemstones, but greed takes over and he snatches a handful of additional jewelry from the display. Then he panics when the door won't open and threatens the baby. This is the kind of chaos Mike spent years avoiding. That same night, Mike finally takes Maya out on a date. He brings her to an expensive restaurant, but Maya isn't impressed. She tells him they should probably just part ways because she would never come to a place like this on her own. Surprised, Mike admits he wouldn't either, and she takes him to a humble food truck instead. Over dinner, she peppers him with personality test questions. When she asks if he would press a button to restart his life, Mike says yes without hesitation. Maya pauses, telling him it's actually sad that he would. She works as a publicist for actors and musicians and has seen firsthand how money never feels like enough for them. But Mike calmly tells her he has a specific number in mind. The moment he hits it, he's done. Then the news report flashes across the screen. The Santa Barbara robbery. Mike's blood runs cold. The next day, Lou tries to interview the witnesses, but Tillman insists the case is open and shut. The robber wore a helmet. No one saw his face, but Lou knows something is wrong. His robber would never harm anyone. That night, Mike storms into Money's place, furious that Money handed his job to someone else. Money shrugs it off and offers him a cut, but Mike makes it clear that this isn't about money, it's about trust. Lou's personal life now begins to crumble. His wife Angie reveals she had an affair and wants to separate. He decides to be the one to move out, choosing a place by the beach. Tillman teases him about all divorced guys doing yoga to get laid. Meanwhile, Sammy reluctantly takes the polygraph test. He looks Sharon in the eye and tells her the people at her company are parasites and asks her if she's one of them too. The words hit harder than Sharon would like to admit. Money gives Orman a new mission. He's to follow Mike, identify Devin the hacker, and let Mike pull off his next robbery before robbing him afterward. So Orman begins shadowing Mike and almost bumps into him outside Devin's restaurant. Soon after, Mike successfully hacks into Sharon's emails and learns about her routine. That very next day, Mike intentionally crosses paths with Sharon outside a restaurant. He compliments her white Mercedes, charms her with car talk, and casually introduces himself. Sharon doesn't realize that this man already knows everything about her. Back at the station, Lou studies surveillance footage and realizes the robber switched cars somewhere between his last sighting and the 101 freeway. He and Tillman begin checking every parking garage in that 30-block stretch. That same night, Maya visits Mike's apartment for the first time and notices something unsettling. He has no photographs, no personal items, no music collection, no favorite songs. He doesn't even know how to dance. She jokingly tells him someone needs to teach him how to be human. They end up sleeping together. But after she leaves, Mike spots a shadowy figure watching him from a distance. He immediately checks his car and finds a tracker. Someone is hunting him. The very next morning, he abandons his apartment. Around the same time, Orman storms into Devin's place and beats the truth out of him. Hours later, Lou and Tillman finally find the garage. They lift the cover off the heist car, and forensics find one tiny speck of blood. A DNA match is now possible. Now Sharon's work life takes another twist. Madeline successfully closes Monroe's wedding insurance deal, including coverage for incredibly expensive diamond wedding gifts, each piece valued around $5.5 million. After the meeting, Mark tells Sharon her partnership has been postponed yet again. When she threatens to leave, he laughs in her face and reminds her she's 53, an age he calls bad for a woman in their business. That moment shatters something inside Sharon. Meanwhile, Lou is packing his desk when an officer announces that the DNA match has come in. The robber's real name is James Davis. Lou finally has a name for the ghost he has been chasing for years. Sharon, broken and angry, posts the beach photo on Instagram, the secret signal to Mike. The next morning, he meets her, and she reveals everything about the Antwerp courier delivering Monroe's wedding diamonds and watches at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. $11 million sitting in one room. Sharon wants $3 million for herself. When Mike asks why she changed her mind, she calmly tells him she has realized she doesn't have as much time as she thought. Lou visits Mike's former foster caretaker and, hoping to learn more about James Davis, and calls Mike, but he doesn't pick up. As Lou is about to leave, the phone rings again. Mike answers, and Lou simply says, "Hello, James." Mike hangs up immediately, knowing the storm is coming. Mike then visits Sharon, hands her a burner phone, and instructs her to find the courier's flight number and the security guard's name. She does it, then destroys the phone. But when she returns home, Orman is already waiting for her. He attacks her, demanding to know what she gave Mike. The next morning, bruised and shaken, Sharon confesses everything to Lou after yoga class. Lou tells her she has just admitted to conspiring to commit grand larceny, but instead of arresting her, he offers her a place to stay. The day of the heist arrives. Mike intercepts the security guard at the airport and threatens his family if he doesn't cooperate. Outside the Beverly Wilshire, Orman steals a bellboy's uniform, planning to ambush Mike. Inside the plane, Lou approaches the courier named Foster and quietly takes his place. He walks out of the airport and gets into the car with Mike. What follows is one of the most fascinating conversations in the entire movie. Mike, who has no idea Lou is a cop, talks about cars and movies. Lou mentions his dream of owning a Mustang like Steve McQueen. Mike says his favorite McQueen film is Bullet. Lou says his favorite is The Thomas Crown Affair, a film about a thief. The irony hangs thick in the air. Sharon, meanwhile, returns to her office, marches into Madeline's room, and tells her the truth about the company. They use women like them as bait to land wealthy clients. She quits on the spot and walks out free. Mike and Lou arrive at Monroe's hotel suite. The moment Mike closes the door, he draws his gun. He orders everyone to their knees, demands the cash, and instructs Adrian to load it into the bag. He tells Lou to open the briefcase. But the moment Lou opens it, he pulls out a hidden gun and reveals he is a police officer. He calls Mike by his real name, James, and tells him he knows everything, including the fact that he has never hurt anyone. But before Lou can finish, Orman bursts into the room and grabs Mike as a hostage. Mike shouts that Lou is a cop, but Orman doesn't care. While Orman is distracted, Mike shoots him. Lou checks his pulse. Dead. Then Lou tells Mike to leave, promising to pin every 101 robbery on Orman. Monroe, furious, threatens to ruin Lou. But Lou warns him that once investigators start digging into illegal stones and tax evasion, Monroe better hope his hands are clean. Days later, Lou is seen riding a bus, calmly carrying the real diamonds. He swapped them out and replaced them with fakes. He hands them to Sharon and tells her they're hers. She shows him a direct message from Mike, a photo of a garage. Lou visits the location, finds Mike's vintage car, and drives off into the sunset like the thief from Thomas Crown. And finally, Maya receives a letter in the mail. Inside is a photo of Mike as a child, standing with his brothers. The man with no past finally chose to share a piece of himself with someone he truly loved.